in to Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network on a magical Monday evening. Look, we're already an hour into what is set to be a beautiful 3-hour segment here on the Film Guy Network. If you haven't already, if you're catching us on rewatch, go ahead and watch Film Study. If you haven't watched Film Study and you're just catching us right now, don't worry. I got a beautiful rundown for you, as we always do on Monday evenings here. Let's start with the offensive side of football. I'm not going to waste any time, so this might take a little minute. Please go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, and review, all that. Get this chat loaded up. Start bumping the algorithm. That's how we do it, right? Firing off in the chat, making sure we're hitting that thumbs up button and leaving a comment on the YouTube video as well. That's how we trick that algorithm. I know you guys love this show. I know y'all do. Y'all support it. Y'all show up. Y'all tell us how great it is. Hell, our boy Jay Will got recognized in a daggum Chick-fil-A line the other day. All right, so it is growing, but it's only growing because of you guys. So make sure you're showing love and make sure you're telling your friends. Let's get into these film observations. Enough about asking you for your support. You're already giving us enough of it. First and foremost, Brock being back on the field. I talked a little bit about this in the film study, but I want to really talk about it here. It's like watching Steph Curry in his prime. Okay, when Steph Curry was on the court in 2016, 2017, 2018, as soon as Buddy walked up past half court, everybody just starts walking up. Everybody starts pressing up on him, and the design of the court started to change entirely. How people play defense started changing entirely. The paint against Golden State got completely empty because number 30 was drawing all this eyes and all this attention on him during the play or during the offensive possession. That's exactly what happens on film nowadays for Brock Bowers. As soon as he runs out into an arrow screen, guess what? Boom, there goes safety and a linebacker. So guess what Mike Bobo did? He slipped Ladd McConkey in right behind him, right? Even Ladd's touchdown, the post route, the big touchdown on Saturday, that was only happening because a quarter safety went completely outside of his responsibilities to stop it. Do we have Epic Pin up? I think we should do something. Yeah, we already have it available. So let's do this right now. Okay, check it out. All right, when you have 19 on the field, guys, he's obviously going to draw a bunch of attention. So, like I said, they were playing a little bit of quarters, meaning this corner had deep thirds or deep quarters. This corner had deep quarters. You had Brock Bowers right here, and you had Ladd McConkey at the X, or excuse me, at the Z right here. I'm not going to draw everything else, but just understand, right? When this H went like this, all right, and the Z or Ladd came right in behind him, this safety, as Brock crossed his face, this safety went, whoop, I got to go cover him. I got to cover him right now. And boom, this void opened up right here for Carson Beck to hit Ladd on a touchdown. And all that is, right, it's your best player opening up plays for other players, right? And it's something that it wasn't just because Brock was on the field. We saw this offense attack zones during the Florida game. We saw this offense do what it could do or do what it did last week. Who'd they play last week?
Missouri.
We saw him do it against much more of a man football team in that game. Well, we saw him be extremely explosive and efficient on the offensive side of the football against Florida, that zone team just a few weeks ago. But, man, just in terms of Brock being on the field, he played, in my opinion, with the same level of effort. He wasn't as, I would say he's 10% less in the blocking department on Saturday, and the only difference was the finishing. I didn't quite see a fight to finish like we typically do in his, style of play. I'm getting to the point now where I think he's the greatest and most unstoppable weapon that Georgia's had on the offensive side of the football. I think there were times during Sony and Nick's run in 2017 where they were extremely hard to stop, but I mean, if you had the dudes and if you could dedicate enough bodies to the box and cover, you could limit Georgia a little bit, or you could try to, right? I think of A.J. Green back in the day. They weren't – offense wasn't really ready for that yet, right? There were games where I don't know if they took them away, but they didn't necessarily just, okay, we're just going to throw it to A.J. today and we're going to win football games, even though sometimes it felt like that was the game plan. When you have a tight end that's just this dominant, it's virtually impossible because – I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to try to play man coverage against him? All right, well, he's better than anybody you got to cover him. You're going to shade help over him? Well, that's fine, because now you're shading help over just one guy in the middle of the field, and there's all this other space around him. There's just not a lot of answers right now for offenses playing against him, and there's not a lot of answers for defenses playing against him. There's not a lot of answers for this offensive line right now either. I tweeted out a stat today, not necessarily a stat, it was more of an observation directly from the Ole Miss's coaching staff. They were sitting there watching tape yesterday, and they were trying to count. They were just about midway through the second quarter, like, shit, we ain't even touched the quarterback yet. Not even like sniffed him. Didn't even get a finger on him the whole like first half. And then they start watching it and was like, no. For 4 quarters, we didn't touch 15. He played a completely clean football game, and that speaks to exactly what this offensive line did. I saw 4 different rotations with the starting unit, the ones unit, okay? And to save, any type of – I'll rattle through it. The first group I saw out there was Ernest Green, Dylan Fairchild, Cedric Van Pran, Tate Ratledge, Xavier Truss. They then slid in Amarius at right tackle and bumped Xavier Truss over to left tackle. Then they kept that rotation at the tackles and bumped Micah Morris in there at left guard for Dylan Fairchild. And then they kept that same rotation and put Ernest Green back at left tackle and left Amarius at right tackle. Bottom line, I think this is the deepest and most talented unit in all of college football on the offensive line. People will try to do this thing. They will try to say, well, Michigan's got 7 or 8, 9 guys that are going to go to the NFL. No, they don't. I'm telling you right now, no, they do not. All right, I've watched them. I evaluate them. I don't see 9 NFL football players. In fact, I saw football players, and we'll talk about it in the National Hour, I saw them have to play 7 or 8 different offensive linemen just to run the ball for 4.5 yards a carry against Penn State on Saturday. So if they're the Joe Moore Award-winning offensive line this year, well, by God, it takes them 7 guys to rush for 5 yards per carry. And I just watched Georgia's offensive line go up against a top 10 defense in terms of sacks, TFLs, and havoc plays. And guess what? Nada. Didn't give up a single one for 4 quarters. Okay, so if you're looking for a Joe Moore Award-winning type of performance, Saturday was it. Kendall Milton had 127 carries on 9 totes. 9 totes, had 127 carries on Saturday. And again, that's all cute. Y'all get to run it 32 times in a row up there at Michigan against Penn State because they playing Bobby Boucher offense, and that's awesome. Okay, but it didn't look like this. That ain't dominance. That's passable offense for Michigan this past weekend on the offensive line. It was nothing, in my opinion, like 8.6 yards per carry. It was nothing like 10 yards per play. It was nothing like our quarterback didn't even get sniffed by the opposition until the postgame handshake. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is Joe Moore Award-winning. Let's move on to the wide receivers. Lad McConkey, a.k.a. Julian Edelman's Equate version, had another ballin'-ass game on Saturday. Guys, this is 3 games. The last 3 games, okay, Lad McConkey is averaging 18.2 yards per reception. That would put him in the top 20 in college football right now with names like Xavier Leggett, with names like Roma Dunze, with names like Luther Burden, with names like all of these wide receivers that everybody tells you's, on the awards list for the Blitnikoff Awards. This dude's absolutely getting after it. And again, there is no we do a lot of jokes and a lot of shit talking around here. Ain't no joke about how good Lad McConkey is, all right? The Julian Edelman stuff needs to go. It needs to stop, all right? Everybody, the Hunter Renfrow stuff, I keep seeing that one, all right? That needs to go. You know who don't run a 4.38? Hunter Renfrow. You know who don't run a 4.38? Julian Edelman. You know who does? Lad McConkey, all right? And you know how you know this? Go look at all of his highlights, bro. He is out here double moving, verticaling, running straight by SEC DBs. Will you stop with the small white wide receiver comps? All right, I know he's a small white wide receiver, but he don't play like that. So let's just stop with all that stuff. He's going to be a long-time pro if his body holds up. As long as that dude's body will hold, he will be playing in the league. I promise you right there. Kendall and Dejan, I talked a little bit about it yesterday. I asked Kirby to expound upon it today. He wasn't taking the bait. Kendall and Dejan, they're not just both extremely healthy right now. They're not both just extremely vital to the success of this offense, but they're so different. They're so different. I talked about it last night. One back says, I dare you to try to tackle me. The other back says, you can try, but ain't no way you're going to hit me, right? And could you imagine as a linebacker, one guy back there, you're like, oh man, I better bring every bit of 230 pounds behind me right now. I better come downhill and I better strike this dude. And then all of a sudden this other guy gets back there and you're like, ooh, I better be real patient. I better be really patient because this guy, if I over pursue at all, if I'm downhill too far or if I'm leaning one way, nope, he's going to make me miss. I could not imagine the mental processes that you have to go through against this offensive, unit in terms of, hey, which guy am I getting from back there and how do I go about playing the style of play that I need to ultimately stop this dude. I see some Randall Cobb in the chat comps. I see y'all keep trying for the comps. One of the listeners to this show and a source and a friend of the program actually got honored Saturday. One of the 36 former Georgia football players that got honored on Saturday. He gave me the best comp. He is Antonio Brown. That's what it looks like. Antonio Brown was a 5'11" ex-receiver that dominated the league as this, like, man, we really can't stay in front of him. We can't guard him. And he's elite at the catch point, too. How is all this? He's Antonio Brown without all the shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's Antonio Brown that we know is going to show up with his lunch pail. Hey, that's pretty daggone good. We'll take that every single time. But nah, the running on Saturday was nuts, but the yards before contact was the most important thing. Y'all blew open holes Saturday that were as wide as my fat butt to run through. But Saturday's performance was Kendall Milton was extremely positive to see for his future. Okay, for his future as a career, because I saw the explosivity, the athleticism, the wow. That guy's how big? You know what I mean? Like when he first popped onto the scene, the first thing that made me think was like this dude might be Najee Harris. Like this dude might turn into that. This guy might be Le'Veon Bell because he's so big and he's so hard to tackle, yet he's so shifty and explosive in spurts. Okay, when it comes to like Saturday, we had a guy on his leg, had a guy wrapped around his leg and he jumped out and pulled his foot out of the arm tackle, landed back on his feet, and then ran through somebody's face. Like the immediate burst of athleticism is noticeable on tape when that guy's 100% healthy, and that's great to see. Ra and Carson continue to develop chemistry. They're working on, it's noticeable, they have a lot of nonverbal communication going on right now, and they're building and continue to build on what they already have. That's kind of frightening for anybody listening to this right now that isn't a Georgia fan. This offense right now, listen to me right now, this offense leads the country in third down efficiency, 53%. Who called that? Somebody say that was going to happen?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know.
Did you do that?
I don't know, but if they did, that would be a hell of a prediction.
Especially if they did it like 4 months before the season.
If they did it like July,
yeah,
they did it like June.
That'd be super impressive.
That would be. To think that a first-time starter would lead all of college football in third down conversion percentage, that'd be pretty nuts. Hey, whoever did predict that, you should probably subscribe to their channel because that guy knows some football. But no, they are number one in the country in third down percentage. They are converting 53% of their third downs. 52% of them in the SEC right now. They are sixth in yards per game at 498.7. They are fourth in yards per play, averaging 7.1 yards per play. Their quarterback is ninth in the country in yards. Carson's thrown for 3,022. They are sixth in the country in completion percentage, and they ain't doing it the easy route, 72.2%. There is some elite stuff going on the offensive side of the football. Let's flip over to the other side. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. Let's talk about C.J. Allen. This is the C.J. Allen football game, and I tweeted about it. I said, I don't know. As a matter of fact, I know. I don't think there is a single freshman in college football that has put tape on like what C.J. Allen did Saturday night. And here's what I mean by this. Caleb Downs is playing great at Alabama. Don't get me wrong. But it takes me about 8 or 9 clips, 8 or 10 plays every Saturday to see Caleb have a moment where it's like, oh, freshman. Whether it be because he missed the tackle or whether it be because he got ran over against USF or whether it be because he got picked on against Texas or, in terms of, hey, we're going to attack that guy and then throw behind him after he bites up. Whatever it is, Caleb Downs has played freshman All-American level ways. But I have seen freshman moments, particularly physically, right? You've seen him get kind of run over. The pop on contact is that of a freshman. Guys, I turned the tape on Saturday of C.J. Allen, and he is running through blocks. He is playing extremely fast. Even when he gets beat, he's getting beat competitively. Like, they tried to hunt him, and it was just like, no, I'm ready for this. I'm 100% ready for this. Now, granted, he's had a little bit of an advantage comparative to like a guy like Caleb, where he got to kind of spot play, and then he got to start 8 weeks, 9 weeks, 10 weeks into the season. So it's a little bit different, but good God, man, he played so physical. We put a clip on the film study of him just absolutely taking the soul of that left tackle from Ole Miss and just snapping him in half in the middle of a hole and just standing over him and staring at him, nodding his head, saying, yeah, like, I'm 19 years old, but I'll beat your ass. You know what I mean? Straight out the Talladega Nights studio. But no, even when he got beat on Saturday, he responded really, really well. I think we know well enough now explosives are extremely costly for this defense. We've seen it over and over again. 13 for 13. When teams get the ball first and goal, they're going to score. They are 13 for 13 this year when they get the ball inside the 10, scoring touchdowns. Not field goals. They're going to score touchdowns. Now, the hard thing for the opposition is they're the number one defense in the SEC because they don't really let you get into the red zone, all right? They are elite 20-20, but the drives in which they give up explosives, particularly the drives that are explosive that end up inside the 10, touchdown. You're giving it up. I'm telling you right now, through the sample size of 11 games, if they're inside your 10, they are scoring 6, period. Okay, so we know that now. However they go about adjusting that or changing that, I don't know. At this point, it looks like you're going to have to start forcing turnovers in the red zone because you kind of just giving it up in there. So, and it starts with being able to stop the run once you get in there. Now, the teams that have had success in there, they're running the quarterback, and they're willing to do that, but it is what it is. A lot of people want to know what were the differences, first half, second half, what kind of changes. I didn't see a lot, to be honest with you. I did see a 3-high safety look that they threw twice in the football game. One was an interception and another one was like a 9-yard run. But I didn't see any tremendous amount of adjustments from this defense. They just played better. All right, and they stopped giving up explosives. One explosive on C.J. Allen, one explosive on Raylan Wilson, another explosive on Dalen Everett. Those 3 explosives wound up in the ball being inside the 20. You gave up touchdowns on 2 of those. You stopped explosives the rest of the game, and they didn't move the football very well. I thought it's very obvious to me throughout watching film over and over again now that teams know what you know, right? Teams know what you think. You think Dalen Everett is not very good, all right? And that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. And to an extent, I would say your opinion is warranted. It's valid. And here's how I know. I don't have to make assumptions on this. I don't have to give you my opinion. I can just tell you what the tape says. The tape says every single week if they're attacking anybody, they're attacking 6. Okay, so if they're showing that on film, then we know that, right? Here's the good news. If you're a Georgia fan, listen to this, knowing that Julian Humphrey's out, okay, and knowing that Dalen Everett continually gets seeked and attacked from oppositions. Number 22 and number 24 are really good. They are really, really good. So even when 6 gives up issues like he did on Saturday, hopefully 22 and 24 can make up for it. And speaking of 24, teams are simply just going away from him. Okay, he's had 1 tackle in the last 2 football games. And it ain't because he's a bad football player. You know what I mean? Like, guys and offenses over the last 2 games, the really good ones, Missouri and Ole Miss, they knew if we wanted any success today, we better stay the hell away from 24. Okay, he had 1 pass breakup in the last 2 weeks, and he's had 1 tackle. So I don't know, but if I were a defense and I go into a matchup and I say, well, we basically took away half the field because they were so terrified to go anywhere near 24, then we're okay. We can concede that. We can play defense around that elsewhere. And I want to end the film notes with this thought right here. And, boys, I want to throw it around the room. Number 3, what?
Nothing.
What are you laughing at? 20 minutes in, just now coming to you? Is that what you're laughing at?
What?
What would you just audibly giggled?
You don't.
I
didn't
think
hear
he
what
was
you
laughing
said?
at you saying throw it around.
Oh, why?
Throw it around the room.
Well, just throw a football around. Throw the discussion around.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Did I miss a euphemism?
No, you're good, man. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Anyways, I want to throw this topic around the room about just how good Kamari has been playing. Kamari has played tremendous football over the last 2 weeks and last 2 seasons, really. And I want to open the discussion because I think when you play this good over and over and over again, and you are clearly the best corner for 2 years in a row for the nation's best defense 2 years in a row, I think we need to now start having the discussion of who under Kirby Smart's regime has played corner better than what this dude is doing right now. Because this guy's playing corner better than, in my opinion, anybody that's played it under Kirby Smart, except for maybe one name. I think we all know that name. Mm-hmm. It's DeAndre Baker in 2018.
Yep.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Did DeAndre Baker have 2 seasons like this?
DeAndre Baker had a really good 2017 season, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this guy's a lockdown. DeAndre Baker's coming out party happened in 2018 against Deebo Samuel.
Yeah. Where
it's kind of like, oh, this guy could be something special, and then that Deebo Samuel game happened, and it was kind of like, oh, he's the best corner in the nation. And he just kept living up to that afterwards. He won. What's the award for corners?
Bullsworth?
No, that's the walk-on
award.
I don't know.
He won the
Thorpe.
cornerback. Yeah, the Thorpe. He won
Award.
the Thorpe Award that year and things like that. So I think that was really what cemented. He didn't have 2 seasons like this, not like Kamari Lassiter has been having.
I also want to give a quick shout out to Gas Dogs MD. We had a super chat in here earlier in the show for $100, and that's nuts. So that means we have 10 free subs. Guys, you got to listen and pay attention. Okay, we gave out the free subs last week. All right, we asked you to email us at brooks7711@gmail.com and start claiming these. All right, but I responded to a bunch of you guys, and y'all aren't checking your own emails. So I'm not going to beg you and plead you to come collect your free sub. But we have 10 more right there. And if they're not claimed today, all right, I'm going to Twitter. And I'm telling you right now, they're going to be gone in 30 seconds. I mean, 30 seconds, they're going to be gone like that. So if you want those free subs right now, you got about, I don't know, an hour and a half until I get off of this broadcast to go claim those in the Gmail account. But no, back to the Kamari Lassiter discussion. I see some Eric Stokes. I see some stuff like that. This guy's played better than Stokes, in my opinion. Sure. Well, Stokes was just elite speed guy, but and could face guard in elite fashion. But when the ball was near him, I didn't necessarily feel confident he was going to come down with it or make a play on it. He was just one of the best cover corners Georgia's ever had. This dude stacks it up all across the board.
Here's how you know Kamari Lassiter has been playing well. Is not a single fan has mentioned or complained about him whatsoever. Not a single bit. And you haven't, you went through that whole first half of the season where nobody was talking about him because nobody was throwing it his way. Now this week he's gotten to some opponents where you have to talk about him because you go against Luther Burden and you go against the Harris kid from Ole Miss. And when you put up results like he has this week, you have no choice but to talk about him. Now he's getting his credit. I thought he's played well all year.
Yeah, I think the other thing that sets Kamari Lassiter apart from Stokes is that he's a much better tackler.
Yeah.
Eric Stokes didn't come downhill like Kamari Lassiter. There's been a couple times this season where you see a hit on Kamari Lassiter and it's just like, oh my God, that's a cornerback. And Kirby Smart said he's the best tackler on the team.
He seeks it. He loves it.
I love it.
I love it too. I'm going to have a headache now. I think the Stokes hit at Tennessee has a lot of people thinking that Mans was a striker. But you're correct in the sense that Kamari's not just the best corner tackler that they have. Kirby's been on record for 2 straight years saying he's the best tackler that they have on their football team. So, it's been elite to watch. It's been really, really fun to watch over the last, 2 seasons from him. By the way, I do think it's probably his last. I mean, I don't know what the cornerback market looks like right now. I know there's 2 potential first-rounders at Alabama, and then probably a lot of people contemplating drafting Kamari Lassiter.
I mean, other than cornerback's usually the most picked spot in the draft. So when you're a cornerback, you usually get out of there.
Hey, welcome into tonight's show. We have a loaded one for you. We're going to be talking about how Georgia, in our opinion, the show's opinion, is the most dangerous college football contender left in college football today. We're going to show some more love to C.J. Allen. We're going to give him 3 today as well. We're going to talk about how the offense and the defense answered the biggest question to date. It is that time of the year again. Do we have another super sub?
Yeah.
We got another $50 sub from our guy, Gas Dog MD. Gas Dog MD, I'm going to cut you off for the rest of the night. All right, so if anybody else wants to hop in with some suggestions or some super subs, go ahead and do it. But Gas Dog, you're cut off, my boy. All right, we got to cut them off every once in a while. That 150, probably that limit. I feel bad letting you donate too much money out there in that super sub chat. But we are up to 15 new subs. Those last 5, I'm going to let you know, those are definitely going out on Twitter. Anybody else that subs out tonight, we will give out more free subscriptions to our Patreon subscription. That's patreon.com/Brooks Austin. And I say it every single time that we have these super chats start coming in here, man. What those are that's people in this community that we're talking about, this Patreon community, this Discord community, that believe in it so much, that love it so much, that they want you to come join in on it. So come hang out with us over there at patreon.com/Brooks Austin. But we do have a loaded show for you guys. It is that time of the year. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But I want to take a quick moment moment, 25 minutes into the show, to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Prize Picks. Okay, if you run over to Prize Picks today using promo code Brooks, you will get a 100% deposit match. I'm not mad, but I'm kind of mad. Oscar Delp cost me $250 this week over there on Prize Picks. We had a 5-leg parlay, okay, was fitting to hit. Okay, it was fitting to hit. Okay, except for Brock Bowers decided he wanted to come back, and that meant Oscar Delp wasn't going to get the 32 yards that I needed. But unfortunately, it was still fun. Fortunately, I should say, it was still fun. Promo code Brooks over there at Prize Picks, you will get a 100% deposit match. Also want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at the Athletic Collection. All these dope posters that you see hanging around the studio in here, whether it be the Brock Bowers one or the Lad McConkey one, you can get those over at the Athletic Collection. The link to that description is in the bio of this chat. Those are NIL plays, okay? So a portion of those revenues will go directly over to those athletes. I see some questions in this chat. Do you have a Patreon? Yes, we do have a Patreon. You get at least one, most likely 2 film studies over there every single week. Those are all 22 film studies too. The best film study that we do. You also get special nugs. All right, so you would have known about Brock Bowers playing, Friday morning? Yeah. I was like, this is happening. Saturday, I was like, nah, for real. This is going to happen.
Shoot, it may have been Thursday night.
Yeah. It was a while ago. But anyways, you would have also heard about the Brock Bowers running news that everyone kind of shit on over there way early. Okay, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. So it's not just extra film studies. It's not just extra intel on your football program, but it's also an extra community that you can dive on into. Boys, it's that time of the year. Do you know what time it is?
Christmas?
Christmas time?
It's not Christmas time, even though my son has now roped me into Christmas decorations. So
if I die, don't say it like it's a bad thing.
Well, it's a bad thing because I'm the one that's got to get my ass up on a ladder, or I got to pay someone to do it. So unless you want to do it, it is a bad thing. All right, and it's all fun and games to be, oh, dude, you be the Griswold family, until you're the one out there doing it. I did it 1 year. Actually, I did it 2 years. The first year, my pops helped me out. He came over there and, was like, fiddler on the roof. I'm finna do this. And I was just kind of holding ladder, and we kind of, switched halfway through, all that good stuff. The second year, I had to do it by myself, and I fell off a ladder about 2 stories high. Luckily, I am a fat elite. All right. Luckily, I landed right on my feet, and then did one of these. I looked around, was like, did anybody just see that shit? Because I literally fell from 20 feet straight onto my feet and was like, I didn't die. So yeah, not doing the Christmas lights anymore. Basically what had happened was the ladder was at a too steep of an angle, and I had no one holding the feet of the ladder. So the feet of the ladder slid right out. Yeah, and I was basically on top of my garage.
That's sick.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts. So yeah, since then we haven't done the Christmas lights. I heard the Christmas lights quotes around here are pretty steep as well in the neighborhood, so we might just be shit out of luck on that one.
Yeah, are you not allowed to do colored lights either?
No, they are. I mean, you can pretty much do anything here. I think you can do the colored lights, but they have to be the standard. They all look uniform. If you drive around the neighborhood, everyone has the same type of Christmas lights. So ain't nobody out here freestyling. You know what I mean? But anyways, it is that time of year. It is Christmas year, a Christmas time of the year, which Christmas music's overrated, but we can talk about that another night. It's that time of the year where guys get fired. All right, and when football coaches around America get fired, that means Georgia football coaches immediately get thrown onto will they hire this guy list, right? So most notably, Glenn Schuman. And we could talk about that, but I think it's ideal that Kirby Smart finally has a coordinator in Mike Bobo that I don't think's ever leaving Athens. I think he's just going to coach his career out at his alma mater. In terms of the Glenn Schuman stuff, that eventually I would imagine someone's going to pull him out. But you got Muschamp sitting right there in the wing that you just don't know if they're going to leave either. Another $10 super sub. I saw that as well. We're going to give them a shout out here in a second. I want to finish this segment, though. It's that time of the year, guys. Glenn Schuman is going to be floated for all kinds of different coaching jobs. Is this finally the year that it happens? I know you only lasted one, right? You only fought him off last year. But, man, you fought off some big-time coaching opportunities, most notably being the defensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, you held on to Lanning, I think, longer than you expected to. It felt like every single offseason it was the question of, are we going to lose Lanning this year? And he just kept on hanging around. He kept on hanging around until finally Oregon came knocking, and he had no choice basically but to say, yeah, I have to take this job. So based on the jobs that are open now, I mean, if Texas A&M were to open up and say, hey, Glenn Schuman, you want to pop on over here and be our head coach, I feel like that's a hard job to turn down. But also at the same time, Glenn Schuman has been on record saying, like, this is where I'm happy. This is where I love to be. This is where my family loves to be. It's where we're comfortable. So if that's the case, too, maybe he doesn't want to leave.
Yeah, I think there's part of me that's saying, Glenn Schuman's waiting for that Bama job to come open. It's where he went. He's got roots there. The only other problem is there's also kind of this rumor that Lane Kiffin's waiting on the Bama job, too. So they both can't have that job. So this might be the avenue where Glenn Schuman goes, hey, A&M kind of not equaled in dynasty as much, but they have similar resources. So,
look, I haven't talked to Glenn Schuman about this. I don't know this firsthand. I don't know this secondhand. This is just pure speculation. Okay, reckless speculation from yours truly. What if Glenn Schuman doesn't want to be a head football coach? What if Glenn Schuman doesn't want to be what it requires to be nowadays, to be the face, the CEO of a college football program? What if making $2 million being a teacher of the sport is good enough for him? Because if there's one thing I know about this guy, the son of a coach, okay, the guy who didn't necessarily play it at an elite level, but has just always wanted to become a football coach and loves being a football coach for the teachings of being a football coach. He truly does enjoy being a leader of men and a cultivator of men and taking that locker room or taking that linebacker room and that defensive room, okay, and making those men the best they can possibly be and teaching them concepts of football. You know what I don't think Glenn Schuman loves? I don't think Glenn Schuman loves being in front of press conferences. I don't think he likes talking in front of cameras. I don't think he likes being on TV. I don't think he likes talking to boosters. I don't think Glenn Schuman likes doing everything that is required to be the head football coach of Texas A&M. I don't. I don't think he wants to get up in front and lead a pep rally. I don't think he wants to do all that stuff. Now, can you be a football coach that avoids all of those responsibilities and still be a great head football coach? Potentially, but not normally. Not normally. Normally, the head football coaches that we know to be the pinnacle of the sport, they're very well-rounded CEOs, head of the program types. Every single one of them. Dabo Swinney is the face of Clemson. Kirby Smart is the face of Georgia football. Nick Saban is the face of Alabama football. Like, if you're going to be an elite college football coach, you kind of have to be one of these out front, outward-going CEO types. And I just don't know if Glenn Schuman is that type of human being. That being said, you're going to have to hold it off another year, I would imagine. And I don't know how many times you can keep doing this. But again, maybe Glenn Schuman's being 100% truthful and 100% honest when he says, I'm happy here and my family's really, really happy here and the grass ain't always greener. And so he said the loving what you do and winning are the most important things to him. He sure as shit loves what he does, and he sure as shit wins a lot of football games at Georgia. So I don't know how many different avenues to coach football that he would possibly want.
Well, I mean, to play devil's advocate, I don't think any college football head coach enjoys talking to boosters, going in front of the media,
Correct.
doing all that stuff. It's the $7 or $8 million extra dollars you make a year that makes that difference. It makes you put up with that. So at this point, how much is money going to talk? How much is A&M or whoever else wants to throw the bag at him? Is that going to be able to get him to say, you know what, it's time to move on? So and all indications say no. He's not that type of guy. But I mean, he wears sweatpants and hoodies the entire practice. So it's not like he's a big spender or anything like that. But I do think money talks.
I do think, though, one thing we do know about Schuman as well is, like you just talked about, and he talked about in his press conference earlier in the year, this is like how much he loves teaching, how studious he is about teaching people, like talking to their former teachers, figuring out how his players like to learn. He likes being very hands-on. He loves being involved in that linebacker room. And while he still can do that as a head coach, you definitely have to manage a lot more, and you can't be as involved as he is with this linebacker group that has at Georgia. So maybe he just loves doing that. He loves being hands-on with that, and he doesn't ever want to leave that position. I
also don't think Glenn Schuman's leaving the defensive coordinator job at Georgia to go coach at a top 10 school. Okay, and here's what's weird. I've read a lot, and we're gonna be in the national hour in like 20 minutes, and we got a lot of like candidates listed for the Texas A&M job. You know who's not on any of these articles? Glenn Schuman. Glenn Schuman is not anywhere to be found on any of these "they should hire this guy" articles. So if you're telling me Glenn's path right now to being a head football coach, if that's what he wants, is to go coach at Memphis, that shit ain't happening. It's not happening. Like, he's going to wait, like you guys said, maybe be the next guy in Alabama, maybe whatever. But the idea that it's just about money or that there's a better defensive coordinating job, we know that's not true, or else he'd be in the NFL right now, I would imagine, coaching the Philadelphia Eagles and making $3.5 million, where right now he makes 1.9, 1.8. So he ain't hurting exactly. But no, you made a great point in the sense that what would make him want to do it? The additional $8 million a year. You know, the difference between making a career earnings of $40 million and making $40 million over the next 4 years. Like, that's the difference. And apparently, like we learned today with Texas A&M, apparently you can just suck your way to $76 million. That's insane. Any more thoughts on that, boys? Do you think it might be the year that he ends up dipping?
Maybe. I think we'll get a better read on things as the season starts to wind down, and you know there's some downtime in between playoff games. That's typical when we get to figure out kind of who's actually in the hunt for these jobs.
Yeah, part of me says it's too early to tell, and part of me kind of goes, I feel like teams like A&M and this already have a guy kind of in mind. Because the way they pulled the trigger, we won't talk about it on the national hour, but it seemed like odd timing for me.
It was a little weird. But yeah, we're gonna keep rolling. Let's should we give them 3? Let's give 3 takeaways.
Let's do it.
All right, here's how this works. I'm gonna give you 3. Start with number 1. Here's my number 1 observation from Saturday's game. It wasn't about Brock Bowers. It wasn't about C.J. Allen. It was about Carson. I don't think Carson Beck is flashy enough to win a Heisman in 2023. Okay, I think he's just too quote unquote boring to most people. And you know how I know? He was 12 for 13 for 235 in the first half of Saturday's game. And you would have just thought he was out there playing catch. You know, I mean, he doesn't hold the ball long enough to make flash plays. He doesn't scramble around like a chicken with his head cut off. He just kind of plays on script the whole time. He just kind of does what is required to make the right answer over and over again offensively. I really don't know. I'm fascinated by the way he plays. I know I am, but I don't think national analysts are. I think national analysts are just like, yeah, he's doing good. He's playing well. You know, he's completing 73% of his balls almost. He's top 10 in passing yardage, right? He's leading the best team in the nation offensively in terms of a well-rounded football player. I'm fascinated by him, but I think other people might think he's relatively boring. I looked at it today. Now, Peyton Manning was a relatively boring type of football player, but he put up not boring stats. Peyton Manning has 5 MVPs. Tom Brady has 3. Okay, so like if you want to do it that way, Tom Brady was very similar in this fashion where he was very boring to watch. He always got the ball out of his hand on time. He always took the answer that the defense was giving to him. He never waited around for anything absolutely like wow type of plays. I don't know who he reminds me of again, whether it be Brady or whether I saw Matt Ryan today on social media. I didn't think that was a terrible comp, to be 100% honest with you. I don't know who he is. I don't know who he reminds me of, but I do know for a fact I don't think he's flashy enough to win the Heisman Trophy unless he shoots out against Bama and wins and throws for like 450 yards, which is very, very plausible. But he's going to have to put up gaudy statistics because he's not going to have a flashy highlight tape. And that's the only way to win the Heisman nowadays, it seems like. Both put up great stats and have these wow type of moment plays. But again, I just don't know if he's going to do that. Number 2, this offensive line should win the Joe Moore Award. I talked about it earlier in the show. They're insane. I think 63, 69, 65, 53, 56, and 71, I think they're all NFL starters. Cedric Van Pran's going to play on Sundays. Tate Ratledge is going to play on Sundays. Amarius Mims going to be a first-round draft pick. Dylan Fairchild, by the time he's done, might be a first-round draft pick. Michael Morris going to play on Sundays. Ernest Green going to play on Sundays. Okay, I think Xavier Truss is going to be a spot starter in the league because he can play all 5 positions. I think Monroe Freeling, the moment he gets an opportunity to play, I think he's going to be a Sunday guy. This offensive line over the last 4 or 5 weeks has put together a stretch and a run of football games that, in my opinion, is kind of unparalleled in this sport right now. Just the way how well-rounded they are and how much of an upright presence they're giving Carson Beck in that pocket. Number 3, Dalen Everett's your weak link, okay? It took me 11 weeks to kind of fold here and give it to you, but he is. And here's the good news about that. If you're going to have a weak link, you can only attack one corner so often, all right? And you got straight-up Bondo back there. If he's a leak in the boat, you got Flex Seal back there in 22 and 24. So y'all are going to be okay. Boys, those are my 3. Give them 3. Who's up?
Well, going right off of that, this is the best secondary in college football. Just watching them every single week, it feels like you see something even more special about them. You learn something new. You get to see a little different wrinkle of them, and they continue to impress every single week. It's a joy to watch them. We knew that the safeties were going to be great when you bump back Javon Bullard back there and Malachi Starks going into his second year. But the way Julian Humphrey was playing before his injury, the way Kamari Lassiter has played this year, Tyke Smith, the way he's emerged this year, that secondary is so much fun to watch. And we're going to get a really good look at them in the closing minutes of the season. Second one, Ladd McConkey is worth whatever draft pick you think he is worth of a skill player and a wide receiver of his caliber. He is worth a first-round pick, whatever you want to say. He's worth every dollar you would pay him as well. We've seen it against every single opponent. The yards after the catch, the route running tree is there. Everything that dude does is special. He makes plays every single week. He shows up every single week. That dude is worth whatever you want to give him in the NFL. And the third one, Brock Bowers' injury might have been the best thing to happen to this offense. And I don't mean that in a bad way, obviously. I don't think that, obviously, if you can have 19 out on the field, you want him. But I think it's kind of allowed these other guys, like we got to see more of Rob Thomas. We got to see some more of Ladd McConkey as he was continuing to build confidence after his injury. Every single, even Marcus Rasimi-Jacksaint, I mean, every single player, I think his absence kind of made us lean on some other guys. And I think it's kind of built into this new confidence of what makes him so special now.
Hey, Jay Will, give him 3. What you got?
Dude, this is the first time I think ever where none
Straight
of us
clean?
have had. None of us
Straight
have
clean.
gotten
We're going to start
anything
letting
taken.
you go first.
Please.
You know? I
So-
feel bad for you. You always hitting cleanup. Go ahead.
It's all good. My first takeaway was Kendall Milton and Dejon Edwards are starting to look a lot like Sony Michel and Nick Chubb did back in the prime days, where you have that one guy who's the bruiser who can still gash you for deep runs, but then you have the quick guy who's hard to tackle as well. That 1-2 combo is so deadly. And it's kind of what Georgia was famous for, but they've started to really look like that. And I don't think you've had that kind of running back rooms as of late.
Me like you.
So that's good. Carson Beck has started to add his legs to his game, where it's not people, said back at the start he was a statue. Oh, he's Tom Brady, comps like that. He started to take off more. He's starting to be willing to run the ball more. He's keeping the ball a little more on zone reads. He's not like Lamar Jackson or Jaden Daniels or anything like that, but it's just enough to keep a defense honest.
I think Kirk ripped a stat on Saturday's broadcast, something like he's had 7 scrambles this year, all 7 for first downs.
Wow.
Something like that. And you're right. It's been much more decisive over the last several weeks. As soon as he sees grass, he's like, let's go. And it's so funny because he was decisive with his arm at the moment he started playing football for Georgia, but it's taken a little bit for him to become that decisive with his legs. You're 100% correct.
And then the third and final one I have, Mike Bobo is owed a massive apology by Georgia fans. People were dragging that man for the first 4 weeks. People said, oh, Mike, he has no idea what he's doing. This is terrible. Fire Mike Bobo. I know Terrence Edwards loves to have that hashtag out, but 611 yards against a number 9 team in the country, and you put up 50 points in November? Come on.
Dude. This is one thing I will not miss about sitting in the student section at Sanford Stadium. There were people behind me still giving Mike Bobo crap, even after Georgia put up 50 points against Ole Miss. Until finally someone turned around and was like, buddy, have you even been watching this year? Do you even understand what they are doing this year on offense? So, like, man.
I thought this was the best photo taken by Joshua Jones on Saturday. This is Mike Bobo's face after dropping 50 points on Ole Miss. Okay, I don't know who he's hugging right there, but my man's is extremely happy that all you guys are hating on his ass for making $1.5 million to score 45 points a game. Like, that's wild. I don't get it. I know Terrence, like you said, Terrence keeps having fun with it on Twitter. I don't know what it is about him. Maybe it's because he just, I don't know. Normally Georgia fans don't hate their own. Like, Georgia is a place that look at the school, look at the program. The program is filled with nothing but UGA alums. Walk around that building. It's filled with nothing but people who used to go to school there. That's who works there. Like, it is very much so we take care of our own. And then maybe just inside the building, maybe inside on campus. Maybe it's not like that with the fan base, I guess. But on campus, that's it, bro. If you don't have a UGA degree, you know how hard it is to get to that building? Like, man, it's like a 4-year journey. They make you do everything. Damn near change your wardrobe and cut your hair. Like, it's nuts. It's really, really hard. But no, they normally protect their own. Not here. You're right.
I think from a internal organizational standpoint, absolutely they protect their own. From a fan base standpoint, no. They hate you until you leave, then you come. Like, Stetson got a standing ovation at that game on Saturday. You remember what he was going through 2 years ago.
Bro, the tweet of me announcing that he was returning for a 6th year, the comments on that.
Oh, I know.
The comments are comical. One day we ought to just go back and read them. It's like, F this, why is Kirby letting this bum come back? Like, just all kinds of vitriol.
People blamed him for the reason Jermaine Burton transferred, and now they trash Jermaine Burton like he's the scum of the earth. So it's funny. It's just funny how history rewrites itself in that way.
Did we give you 3?
No, I don't think so.
Hey, that boy Kirby, give him 3. All right, big questions answered on this football team. We talked about it a little bit on Sunday observations, or Sunday service rather. Talked about how for the first time, I mean, since maybe like, I don't know when was the last time Georgia felt comfortable in shootouts? What football team? The Murray days? Even then, you thought your defense was going to give it up.
In general or just in a game?
In general, when was the last time Georgia, if I told you, hey, got to score 50 today to win, when was like, you were like, all right, we're going to win this shootout, no doubt.
Probably 2013.
Yeah.
2013. You got a little bit of it last year, but you didn't feel this comfortable.
Maybe preseason 2007.
Yeah.
A.J. Green, Matt Stafford, Noshawn Marino.
For sure.
Muhammad Massaquoi, was that all them?
Yes.
Maybe then. But, I mean, for the first time since I've been covering Georgia, if you told me they needed to score 60 to win, I'm going to be like, all right, well, this is going to be fun as hell to watch. Like, this is going to be awesome. This is going to be a good football game. But, no, I feel extremely comfortable. And this is how we knew, right? You watch that first quarter, and you're like, 21 points scored, 14 by Ole Miss, 7 by Georgia, and you're like, whatever, we'll be fine. Like, Georgia's going to score as many points as they want to today against this football team, and that's rare. I didn't think that was ever going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, you go.
I also think that there's also this sense in your mind that it's the Georgia defense is going to figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's the most comforting to a fan is that you have Kirby Smart, one of the best adjustment makers, makes the best defensive coordinator before he even was the head coach. So I think that's kind of what you have in your mind subconsciously. There was always this feeling in the back of your head that Ole Miss isn't going to just keep scoring, right? And they didn't. You stopped them, stonewalled them after 2 touchdowns.
You know what's crazy about Kirby in these moments is that, I mean, you would think he'd micromanage it, right? You'd think he'd walk over there and he'd – no, dude. I've been on the sidelines twice this year. Glenn Schuman does all of the coaching, all of it. Kirby will walk over there and pop over his shoulder and give a little, come on, boys, we got to be better here. No. Glenn Schuman's the one with the squeegee board, sitting right there figuring everything out as calm as you could ever deliver any type of message. And that's, I mean, it's been clear as day who the mastermind of that defense is. For anybody who's been very close to the program, anybody outside the program would be like, oh, Will Muschamp, co-DC. Nah, dog. This is Glenn Schuman's defense. And you can even see, like, they hide Glenn behind the drape, right? Kirby's standing off to the side with his hands on his knees the whole time watching. Okay, Glenn's the one over there dialing it up. Glenn is a mastermind. And I would love every year I try to get in there for that coaching seminar. I can't; they won't let me. But I would pay as much money as they would strap it on me to walk in there and be able to just learn from the way he talks and educates football.
I mean, they're the only only Power 5 football team that has a top 10 scoring offense and top 10 scoring defense in college football. They're on pace to do it for the 3rd straight year in a row, which nobody has done for the last 10 years. So I think that's what makes this offense even more dangerous is the fact that they're the only college football playoff contender that has both an elite offense and a great defense.
And is this why they are the most dangerous college football playoff contender?
It is. And I was going to say, like, they're a dangerous offense because they have the defense to complement it. They can put up points. I mean, they're the only 2 offenses that are scoring more points than them that are in the college football playoff hunt still, Oregon and Washington. But Georgia's still averaging over 40 points, but then they can also stop you enough times on defense. They have the defense that can complement this offense where if you get in a shootout, people are going to bet on Georgia, and Georgia fans should bet on their defense more to get more stops in that type of game than any other defense in the country. And that's part of the reason why this offense is so dangerous. And people should fear Georgia's offense.
I mean, we talked about it last week and weeks prior how we thought Georgia and Michigan were the only 2 balanced football teams in the sport right now, truly balanced, perfect football teams. I don't even know if I feel that way about Michigan anymore. Not after watching. They looked scared. They looked scared to put the ball in the air against the Penn State football team. Now, granted, Michigan people were like, oh, well, they just knew they could run the football. No, that's not how winning championships works. Winning championships means you have to throw the football and throw it accurately and explosively, and Georgia is doing that right now. They are 100%, in my opinion, the most dangerous college football playoff contender because they can beat you in a multitude of ways.
I don't know if dangerous is the right word to use, because dangerous to me means like you're a team that on the surface it's not anything scary, but they're a team that can definitely beat
daunting?
you. Yes, daunting is a much better word for me. I agree with everything everyone's saying. When I think of a dangerous team, I think of like the Missouris, the Louisvilles, even the Tennessees of the world. Georgia, you know what Georgia is when you're coming in to play them. Like, you know they're scary. You know what's going on. I like daunting a lot more.
What do we think about Lane Kiffin's comments Saturday about how, this is Lane. Lane does this every year. He does this with Alabama and he does this with Georgia because he knows those are the two teams that he's probably not going to beat, but people think he might be able to. And then he leads up. He kind of hypes his football team up pregame. And then postgame, he's like, well, shit, what do you expect? They got 75 5-stars. I got one. Now, I love how he was like, well, we got to recruit better. And then he was like, but we got to coach better too. But we really got to recruit better because they have 25 5-stars to our one. He's right. I'm fine with him saying it. I'm also fine with him, or not fine with him saying that. And then the next day when he's asked about a Texas A&M job, who, by the way, can obviously stack 5 stars like you can't because they have the finances to do so, you tell me that it's a no-go, that it's not even an option, that you're ignoring the interviews and ignoring the calls based off your tone. So in one hand, you're like, well, I'll never be able to win and be a college football playoff team because I don't have enough talent. And then the football program that offers you a job or is thinking about offering you a job or talks about offering you a job or your name's mentioned in that job that can recruit 5 stars and can land them at an unprecedented rate, by the way, you just balk at it. I don't get that one.
I think we've also had to learn that anything coaches say in season about job searches or
Fugazi.
Who's hiring this, or Lincoln Riley went last year and was like, no, I love Oklahoma. I'm not going to be the coach of LSU. I love it here. And then he takes a job at USC. So I think stuff like that, they have to cover their trail because just in case it doesn't work out, Texas A&M wants to go another way. You look stupid because you tried to get that job and now you're stuck at Ole Miss. It's kind of what who was the Louisville coach a couple years ago that did that? Satterfield, yeah, where he was going. I don't remember what job it was, but it was basically like he was a shoo-in for this job. They ended up hiring someone else, and then he had to go back to Louisville. It was kind of like, well, do you even want to be here? Yeah,
this is awkward.
Yeah.
I don't know. Lane's Lane. His press conferences,
Lane
I put in a whole different category than anybody else. But the whole 5 stars.
It looks like he just walks in there and he's like, I'm just going to fuck my hair up. I'm just going to mess my hair up real quick. I'm just going to jack it up. By the way, to the man that walked up to me in the press box Saturday and thanked me for not cussing anymore, I'm sorry. Amazing how many people watch this show.
What are you at
just
right now?
In the network. We're at 17.
Ooh, it's about time for a giveaway.
We're 17.
We still don't know.
I think
what we're doing.
At a sweet dub, we might give a donation. I still don't know what we're going to do there. Some people are like $25 a cuss word, and I'm like, bruh.
To who?
I don't know, but somebody's gonna get rich off me cussing. It ain't gonna be me. Hey, C.J. Allen had one of them freshman performances Saturday. One of them freshman performances that make us go, hey, has anyone had a better one of these in a while? And the only one that came to mind in my mind was recent memory was George Pickens' like 170-yard game against Baylor in 2019. But even that was like game 12 for him in that football season. I think always back to that Tyreek Stevenson Auburn game in 2019. But that's really it. I don't have a lot of these types of performances.
I went through a kind of a big list, and it's nothing like CJ. And CJ Allen's stats weren't as quantifiable because linebackers, it's what? Tackles, pass breakups, fumbles.
Correct.
Other than that, it's what you see on film. But Malachi Stark's game in Oregon 2022, I think, goes up against that. He had 8 tackles in that game.
Wow.
He was all over the place.
That was before teams started to go away from him.
Yeah.
That might be the best one on this list just because that's day one. And he put an
Walk
otherworldly.
out there, I'm going to dominate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I have a couple others. You want me to
Come on.
Brock Bowers in 2021 against Vanderbilt, 4 receptions, 69 yards, 3 total touchdowns.
Nice.
Yeah. This one I put on there just because I feel like it wasn't as much a great performance as it was a great moment where you go into Indiana, start a true freshman, come out with a win. But Jake Fromm's 2017 against Notre Dame, I think it wasn't a great performance at all. He went 16 for 29, 141 yards, nothing like C.J. Allen did. But I think that was one of the first program wins where you go, wait, this kid might be something. You're going to love this one. Rodrigo's Blankenship's 2016 game against Kentucky, 3 field goals, including the game winner.
I got a 2016 one.
Who you got?
How about Brian Herring against North Carolina?
Ooh, that is. I didn't
Was
think
he a
about
true
that.
freshman that game?
Yeah,
Had
he was
to
a
have
walk-on
been.
at that point,
Yeah,
wasn't he?
well, nah, he was an offered kid from New Manchester, but no, he was last like 27th guy out of 27. But I believe he was a rich or a offered kid.
Yeah, I got one more.
Come on,
Jacob Eason, Missouri, 2016.
That's a good one.
true
29
freshman. I think
for-
that whole year. I honestly like.
Yeah.
I watched him from a distance. I thought Jacob Eason was going to be him.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to be him watching him as a freshman, and then it just never really panned out.
29
even to this day in the league.
29 for 55, 308 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I mean, as a true
and some like look at Mahomes here in the fourth quarter.
True freshman on the road, that's a big game.
Yeah.
So, but no, I think C.J. Allen's performance definitely stacks up there against some of the greats. Not statistically, just because linebacker stats don't usually go crazy, but from film standpoint, he put on a show.
Absolutely.
I got 3 of them.
Come on.
2018 versus LSU. Jordan Davis had 7 tackles in that game. Now, what's the game that? Oh, dang! What the heck just happened? My Google Chrome just failed. We had I know my other 2 already. DeAndre Swift in 2017 in the SEC championship game against Auburn. He had 7
explosive.
carries for 88 yards and a touchdown.
Like 70 of them on one.
Yeah, when you saw that breakaway speed on that touchdown run, you're like, oh, yeah, that dude is going to be something special. And then, of course, I had to give a shout-out to this one. Again, against Auburn, Ladd McConkey, 2021. He had 7 receptions, 135 yards, and a touchdown. Redshirt freshman.
I got another one.
What?
How about Nick Chubb versus Clemson? Was he a true freshman in that
24.
football game?
Yeah, but
Yes.
that's not Kirby years, though.
No, it's not
So
Kirby years, but that's pretty damn
That's
good.
probably the
Yeah.
best one, actually.
That's probably the best one. He had like
Yeah.
144 yards.
Dude
in
had his
football.
helmet ripped off and was like,
or the
"Come get you
Missouri
some."
game where you're like, holy hell. Because Todd Gurley dominated that Clemson game.
Yeah,
Todd Gurley had like 3 total touchdowns for 250 all-purpose
as a
yards.
true freshman.
Yeah.
So yeah. Ooh, I like this one in the chat. How about Milton showed flashes all freshman year.
Yeah.
All freshman
The
year
Auburn
showed
run.
flashes. The Auburn run, the Tennessee matchup. He looked
Yeah.
good against Alabama that year as
He
well.
He did.
So yeah, there's a bunch of really good freshman performances, not only during the Kirby era, but just in general. How about Terrence Edwards? Terrence Edwards had a career year, his freshman year.
First game he started.
Game, yeah, this shit was sweet. He said, "College football is easy, baby." Well, hopefully we can get Terrence on tomorrow night. We'll see. But no, I think that goes down, in my opinion, as the best game any freshman has played. Boys, do we have any other thoughts before we roll over into NBR? I don't want to hang out here too long if we don't have anything else. You got anything for
I'm
me?
good.
All right, that'll be it here for TTD. Stick around for us. Give us a shot. I say it every Monday. Okay, we got a bunch of people. This is always our biggest show, okay, when it comes to live talk shows, okay? Make sure you're rolling over and giving us a shot to be your national correspondents here in just about 5 minutes over on our NBR segment. Love you. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out.